Hi, I'm Peter J. Wright. Welcome. Today's topic is the 1869 Cleveland Forest City NAA baseball season. The first year of professional baseball in Cleveland. I've now done videos on 45 years of Cleveland Indians history from 1973 to 2017. And now we're going back to the beginning of the story for the Cleveland Indians and professional baseball in Cleveland. 1869. Abner Doubleday was a Union general in the Civil War, and there's a myth that Abner Doubleday invented baseball in Cooperstown, New York, in 1839. Now, we believe this is a myth, but it's a myth that people have wanted to believe in, and it's why the Baseball Hall of Fame is located in Cooperstown, New York. So the question is, how did baseball originate? Well, it's kind of mysterious. It's kind of hard to know, but we do know that baseball was being played in 1823 on the outskirts of New York City. So from as far as I can tell, the game of baseball developed in New York State and near New York City. In the New York Knickerbockers were formed in 1845, a baseball social club. Okay, and then in 1857, there was a National Association of Baseball Players, which was a 16 New York area clubs. So these were private clubs. They were gentlemen's clubs, and playing baseball in New York City, guys who had time on their hands, gentlemen who came together to play baseball. Now, actually, during the Civil War, this was really the time when baseball became America's pastime, because during the war, guys from different states met each other, and they were traveling all over the place, and they had time on their hands in camps, military camps, between battles and when they weren't traveling or marching. And so they started playing baseball. Baseball spread. Guys learned the game. And so the Civil War, really, you could say, was when baseball became America's national pastime. After the war, the guys brought baseball home to all the different states and continued playing it. And it became popular all over the country. Now, there is a record that in 1845, ball playing was banned in public square in Cleveland, although it's not clear if that was baseball or not. So it could have just been, playing catch. The first baseball game, pro baseball game in Cleveland, was played on June 2nd, 1869, and the location was the Case Commons. Commons would be a grassy area where people could get together, and this was located at Putnam Avenue, now East 38th Street, and Scoville and Central Avenue in Cleveland. And according to the records, 2,000 fans came to that game here in Cleveland. The ladies were wearing hoop skirts and gentlemen wearing high starched collars. They paid 25 cents to sit in a makeshift grandstand, and those who wanted to could pay 50 cents to watch the game from their horse-drawn carriages which ring the field. Now, the Cleveland team was the Cleveland Forest City baseball team, and the opposition was the Cincinnati Red Stockings, who were nationally famous, and they were the first pro baseball team. There's a really good book called If I Never Get Back by Darrell Brock, came out in 1990, and it's a historical time travel book back to the 1869 Cincinnati Reds. And see, the thing is baseball had been this gentleman's game. It takes you have to have time to play a sport, and it was the working man was working long hours in farms, and then of course also factories were developing, and coal mines, different mines. So gentlemen, had the time to play, and that's what they did. They were playing baseball, like I said, mostly in New York City, and then it did become popular nationally. Now, some fellows in Cincinnati decided, well, let's form a profession. Let's try to create the best baseball team in America. And to do that, we need to hire guys, because actually, Gentlemen are generally not as physically strong because they're working in offices, whereas the working man, poor men, or farmers and factory workers and miners, these guys are big and strong. So and they need money. So the best baseball players had become poor men. So these individuals in Cincinnati decided to they said, let's put together the best baseball team in the country, and we'll hire guys. They'll come and play for money, and we'll charge the fans to watch the games. And that team, the Cincinnati Red Stockings, went 57-0 in 1969. They did not lose a game. Really something. And so they did what they set out to do. They created the best team, and they came to Cleveland. And Cleveland put up our own team, the Cleveland Forest City team. Now the players for the Forest Cities included A.R. or Austin Smith. They called him Pikey, and he was the third baseman, an amateur. Now on the Forest City team, 4 of the players did not want to be paid and did not receive no money, and Austin Pikey Smith was one of them. 4 years earlier, in 1865, he had played at an amateur baseball game on the Kinsman grounds on East 40th Street in Woodland in Cleveland. And in this amateur game in 1865, there was a team called the Forest Cities, and they played the Oberlin team from Oberlin, Ohio, called the Oberlin Penfields. And Oberlin won that game 67-28. And Pikey Smith, or Austin Pikey Smith, in that game ran into another player, lost 2 teeth. He was the left fielder. He hurt his arm on a throw and left the game. And he was now this team, again going back to 1865, was the Forest City Cricket Club, which just started playing baseball. Okay, so the shortstop was Eben Smith. He was also an amateur and was not paid for money in 1869. Arthur Bell was called the middle fielder or the center fielder. It's not clear whether he's like a shortstop or a center fielder. He was also an amateur, and he hit a home run in the game. Now the second baseman was Leonard C. Hanna, and Hanna was just played until 1871 and then retired and became a very successful in business, an industrial magnate, so he became a very wealthy businessman, and also a Gatling gun battery captain. So that means he was involved in the citizens' militia, and the object was to deal with some of the violence that was happening with labor struggles, the union movement and so forth. Now, Leonard Hanna's brother Leonard Hanna was playing on this team. His brother, Mark Hanna, was a powerful businessman in Cleveland, became a U.S. Senator, and he was also chairman of the Republican National Committee, a powerful man politically in our country. He's also a friend and ally of a politician from Canton, Ohio, William McKinley, and he helped McKinley become U.S. President in 1896 and reelected in 1900. Okay, and McKinley became the 25th U.S. President, sent the United States to the Philippines in the Spanish-American War in 1898, and because of McKinley, the Philippines became a U.S. territory from 1898 to 1946, and that started the wonderful relationship between Americans and Filipinos. So we're a little bit off topic here. Anyway, the Forest City team had been formed in 1868. The year before, they were amateur, and they became pro in the off season. Again, although some of the players were not being paid, but more than half were. The catcher was James Deacon White. He was their best player, a 300 hitter. He later became played in Boston, was the personal catcher of Al Spalding. And Spalding, of course, if you heard of the Spalding's Sporting Goods Company and different Spalding sporting goods products that are available and have been available for a long time. So Deacon White was one of the principal stars of the first 2 decades of pro baseball's professional era. He was an outstanding catcher during the baseball's bare-handed era. The catchers caught without a glove. In fact, there were no gloves at the beginning, and that included the catcher. They didn't have a glove. And in the 1870s, Deacon White caught more games than anyone else in pro baseball. From 1873 to 1877, he was on 5 championship teams for the Boston Red Stockings and the Chicago White Stockings. He had a 23-year career. He also won a title with the 1887 Detroit Wolverines. For his career, he hit .312. He had 2,066 hits, 988 RBIs. He played for the teams he played for included the Cleveland Forest Cities, the Boston Red Stockings, the Chicago White Stockings, Cincinnati Reds, Cincinnati Stars, Buffalo Bisons, Detroit Wolverines, and Pittsburgh Pirates between 1868 and 1890. He was elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2013. White was from Canton, New York. He died in St. Charles Township, Illinois in 1939 at age 91. So he didn't get to enjoy being inducted into the Hall of Fame. He learned baseball from a Union soldier who returned to his hometown from the Civil War. So yeah, these guys, these Civil War soldiers, they brought the game home, and that's how it became popular. Deacon White, or Jim White, some of his teammates included the famous Cap Anson, Al Spaulding, and King Kelly. Also, Deacon White believed the earth was flat. Interesting guy. Okay, other players for the Forest City team, Cleveland Forest City, included Art Pratt, sometimes called Albert Pratt. Art Allison, or Arthur Allison, was at first base. Art Pratt was the pitcher. And John Riley was in center field. Now, these don't have individual pictures of these guys, but they're in the group photo. Johnny Ward was in left field for the Cleveland Forest City team. Now in the game, the Red Stockings won the game 25-6. So this was part of the when they went undefeated in 1869. But the Cleveland team put up a good fight. Now their players included their star George Wright was the star for the Cincinnati Red Stockings. Wright was from Yonkers, New York. He died in Boston, Massachusetts in 1937 at age 90. His career average was .302, 330 RBIs, and he scored 665 runs. George Wright played for the Cincinnati Red Stockings, the Boston Red Stockings, the Boston Red Caps, and the Providence Grays between 1869 and 1882. George Wright was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1937. He was a shortstop, and he was baseball's best player during his era. Yeah, so he was the star. He was on 6 championship teams. In 1876, he was the first National League batter. His elder brother was Harry Wright, also on the team. And then George Wright, after his playing career, he settled in Boston, and he started a sporting goods company. And he did a lot to develop golf, tennis, and hockey, those 3 sports. To play sports, you need equipment. And George Wright became a sporting goods producer and supplier. So he did a lot of good in promoting golf, tennis, and hockey. So he was a star player. His brother Harry Wright was also a star. Actually, Harry Wright organized the team. He was really the coxswain. He organized the team, and he also played. Harry Wright was from Sheffield, England. He died in Atlantic City, New Jersey in 1895 at age 60. He was a center fielder and a player manager. For his career, he hit .272, had 222 hits, and 111 RBIs. Harry Wright. Harry Wright played for the New York Knickerbockers, the Gotham of New York, Cincinnati Red Stockings, Boston Red Stockings, Boston Red Caps between 1858 to 1877. He's also a manager for the Boston Red Stockings, Boston Red Carp, the Providence Grays, the Philadelphia Quakers, who became the Phillies between 1871 and 1895. And he was inducted to the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1953. He started out as a cricket pro as a youth. Cricket has some similarities to baseball. Harry Wright. John Hatfield was another star player for the Cincinnati Red Stockings. It was said that he had the strongest throwing arm in baseball. And Hartford was from left fielder, was from New Jersey, died in Long Island City, Queens, New York in 1909 at age 61. For his career, he hit .280, 3 home runs, 146 RBIs. Hatfield played for the Gotham of New York, the Active of New York, the New York Mutuals, Cincinnati Red Stockings between 1864 and 1876. He also was the manager for the New York Mutuals. In 1868, he threw a baseball 396 feet, which was considered a world record. And in 1872, he had a 400-foot throw. Okay, so anyway, so that was that game. The Cincinnati won 25-6. Now later in the summer, they played again, and again the Cincinnati Red Stockings defeated Cleveland 43-27. Now other games that Cleveland played in 1869, they played the Brooklyn Eckfords, lost that game 41-27. They also played the Troy, New York Haymakers and split a doubleheader. 109 runs were overall runs were scored. Now the overall record, they weren't keeping good records in 1869. We don't know the other games they played. I'm sure there were more, and we don't know their team record for the season. The following year, they played again, and again, there's only a record of one game. In May 17th, they had a game against the Atlantic Club of Brooklyn, and after 5 innings, the Cleveland Forest City team was leading 132-1. They scored 52 runs in the first inning, and the third inning 54, and there's no record of play after the 6th inning. It was assumed that the scorekeeper swooned from exhaustion. So again, this is the information that I have from the Cleveland Forest City teams from 1869 to 1870. Now, the Society for American Baseball Research, SABR, they do a lot of good work and trying to piece together more information, tell the story better from 19th century baseball. Because actually in 1901, when MLB as we know it started with the American League beginning and joining the National League, there was an effort to disparage 19th century baseball. So that's too bad. So hopefully we can rectify that. So God bless all the fellows who played for the Cleveland Forest City team in 1869. And God bless the fans as well. Now that would be my great-great-grandparents' generation. So they were important for those folks who are long gone. But anyway, they still are alive after leaving this world. Captains of the Cuyahoga, lovers of Lake Erie, Terminal Tower Power, Tribe Browns, and Cavs rule, Cleveland City of Champions. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you. Take care, and I'll see you next time.